Welcome to the inner world of filmmaking. I'm your host, Tammy McGarrow. I'm a writer, director, editor, and a podcast producer. In this show, I will interview filmmakers in all facets of production and distribution. In this episode, we're exploring the world of becoming a working director. Today's guest is director Jenn Page, the creator of The Working Director, which is a mentorship program. She has directed multiple award-winning features as well as digital series. Jenn has a podcast, which is a great resource for emerging filmmakers to help accelerate their journey to becoming a working director. Welcome, Jenn. Happy to have you on the show today.
Hi. Thank you for having me. That was my announcer voice there. Come on down to The Price is Right. I don't know what I'm doing.
I love it. So what inspired you to create the Working Director program?
Well, it kind of started a few years ago. I was kind of fed up with how studio programs kept selecting the same people. And they were selecting people even who had already done stuff in the studio world. And there's like all these directors like myself. Like I've directed 6 feature films, 12 digital series, 130 other projects. And yet I'm considered a first time quotes, in quote, director for network television. So I brought women together. We made our own little program. We met with a bunch of showrunners and sort of created our own version of a studio program. And from that, I started helping more filmmakers and more filmmakers and more filmmakers. But the thing is, I was doing it all for free and it was all over the place and it was taking up a lot of time. So I was like, let me take all of this stuff that's everywhere, smush it together into one program. And everything I'm repeating is now in a course, so I don't have to say it a million times. They go through the course, they learn everything they need to do, they get all their stuff together. And then we have weekly coaching. And the weekly coaching is so much better than like all the random meetings I was having everywhere. So, so it's kind of like basically a mini studio program, but it's not free because my time is valuable, but it is very helpful and probably more helpful than most of the studio programs.
Now, is it just for women or is it for anybody?
Well, it's funny you asked that because it started as for anybody, but I was finding that women were more drawn to working with me through this program, and I was actually enjoying it more. So our Facebook group that's for all directors, any director who wants to be in there can be in there. But the course has now become, at least for now, for women only. I think that the women like it because it feels like a safe space. Like they have their own inner circle group. They can post what they want. They can bring any problems to the table. They don't feel judged. They really become supportive with each other. So I kind of like it. So I'm kind of like, sorry guys, not right now.
Well, I think it's great because women need the representation that men just get organically. So good for you for helping us women out. So what do you feel are some of the barriers that filmmakers face that get in the way of their dream of directing?
A lot of it is mindset, to be honest. I'm noticing that the more I coach people, the more I realize that they're in their own way. They're making excuses constantly. When I first started directing, the first thing I ever directed, I picked up a camera. I made my boyfriend at the time and my daughter, who was like maybe 4 at the time, be in a music video. And like, I just started doing it. And that grew and grew and grew and grew into, the career that it is now. I mean, my first web series, I just picked up a camera. I had the mic on the camera. It was the worst sound ever. The web series is still actually really cute because the kids in it are hilarious. But I would never show it to you because it's like terrible filmmaking. But right. I did it. And then that actually led 7 years later, 10 years later or something, but it led to me actually getting a bunch of stuff with Ray Cyrus. So I always tell Ray, it's always in your, like, there's no wrong thing to do. Just start directing. It really is the biggest barrier. The second thing is, it really is kind of it, because I think everything comes to mindset. I'm like, people talk themselves out of almost everything we do in the course and the coaching program. I'm shifting everybody's mindset. Even things like asking for money. Like I had a director who was like, maybe I'll just ask for $5,000. I was like, no, it's not enough to make it. You asked for $10,000. And then when she did it, she asked for 10. She heard nothing for a week. She's like, oh my God, I should just tell him I'll do it for less. I was like, no. And then like 2 days later, they're like, yeah, we'll do it at the $10,000. So it's just, I think all of our barriers, my own too. I have still blocks I'm working over. I think all of our barriers start from mindset. And then obviously, there are things like women in film are, we have a harder time breaking through, whereas, white men can just go get a job, And then women and men of color are supposed to shadow to get jobs. You know, things like that are just, those barriers are things we're still breaking down.
And also, I think to have that strong voice, you know, a man comes in a room, everybody looks to him for the answers. A woman comes in and then nobody sees her sometimes.
Right. Or if we are the loud voice, we're considered, you know, troublesome.
Right.
And it's like, no, I just have to be loud so everybody listens, you know.
Right. Yeah. So it's kind of navigating the waters of our styles, our personalities,
Absolutely.
and kind of not allowing anything to get in the way of that. I think you have to just push forward. So how can a director get better at directing? And what I was thinking with this question is, you know, it's one thing, you know, experience, just direct, get out there, direct. Another thing is, do you go to school? Maybe it's about money. If I have the money, maybe I should. So I'd love to know your thoughts on, should somebody do directing training or just watch YouTube videos or maybe reach out to somebody that they admire? Like, what do you suggest in bettering your skills?
It's funny. This is a controversial topic, but I have a very firm stance on it. I do not believe in film school. I think if you are going to go to film school, if you're like, I really want to do it, that's where I want to dig into my craft and I want to really learn. If you're going to pay all that money, please use it for all you can. Use the gear every single weekend to shoot your own stuff. Use the connections as an intern to go work on studio projects. If you're not doing those two things and bonding with your filmmakers in the program who are going to also move up the ladder, you are wasting your money. I firmly believe that your money is better spent if you're going to spend $100,000 on school, I say spend $100,000 doing a bunch of projects. Because there's no boot camp, there's no film school like going out and doing it, and then editing it yourself to learn editing. And then even if you don't want to edit later, it teaches you so much. So I'm so much for the School of Hard Knocks, I guess. That's where I think you should go to school. Yeah. That said, there are skills you need to develop. So you need to be good with actors. In order to be good with actors, you need to work with actors. So do I think you should go to take an acting class? Not necessarily, but it might make you more in tune. I actually teach a directing actors lab, and once a month the directors go in there with actors and they're working on it and they're getting better talking to actors and how they can work with them. So there are ways you can hone the skills, but there's just nothing like going out and just doing it.
Well, and also I think that doing it brings you confidence. Because the more you do something, and that's what can get out of your head. Because I think the most of the thing is the thinking rather than doing.
Mindset. Yep. Also, when you go out and make stuff, be open to good feedback, creative critiquing, because I can't tell you how many people submit to the Blackmagic Collective Film Festival, and I'm executive director of that. So I see all the films that come through that get pushed past our screeners. But the films are not good for the most part. People are not going out and getting feedback on their work. And then they're like frustrated at why they're not making it into film festivals. It's like, because you're not getting feedback on your work. And I'm talking about, even I do it. I did my 6th feature. I still went and had people sit down and watch the cut and give notes. And we recut it. And then I had new people come and watch the cut and give notes. You're never going to learn by just thinking your work is the be all end all. Ever. Right. So especially when you're new, like, be open to the critique, be open to like, how can you edit faster? How can you make it tighter? How can you bring out performances better? If I tell you your actors are not performing well, it's not a slight on you. It's let's talk about what you did. Let's talk about how you directed them on set. Let's figure out how you can get that performance you're looking for. Be open to that. Ask questions of those you can. And if you can, shadow directors who are really doing it, who are out there like, with really good skills. Don't shadow directors who are just terrible people. That happens a lot.
Right. Yeah. Be selective. Okay. On that note, shadowing directors, is that just like finding somebody on Instagram that you like their work and then reaching out to them? Or like if somebody wanted to shadow you, would they reach out to you and say, could I shadow you? And what does that look like? Is that just like a day on the set, or is that over the whole course?
It depends on the director you're shadowing, of course, and it depends on your relationship with them and what project it is. It's really tough to get a go-ahead to shadow major studio feature films because there's a lot of red tape you got to get yeses to often, unless you're close with the director. Same thing with network. It's really hard to get good shadowing. And network TV, if you want to do that, I think you need to ask to shadow the whole process, from tone meetings and location scouts to being on set through post-production. It's like a 3-week thing. I think you should just commit to that if you can. The hard part is asking someone to shadow, because you have to remember that, like, if someone, especially if they're directing network TV and studio features, they have a lot of favors that they owe, and they have a lot of people that they've worked with. So for me, for instance, I'm not even that far up the food chain, but if you said, can I shadow you? It's like, well, do I know you? What have you done for me? And not in like a selfish, like, do something for me, but you can't just come out of the blue and not know somebody and ask for that kind of opportunity. There's a lot of people in line. So my working directors in my accelerator, they're always going to get the first shot at anything I have. They're going to get the first shot at me handing out directing work that I don't want to do. They're going to get those shadowing opportunities. And then beyond that, it's my friends who have been helping me on set this whole time who want to do it. Who's that person who came out and did background for me who now wants to direct? They're going to get it. Like those are the kind of people who we're going to say yes to. So I wouldn't just go to Instagram or Twitter and be like, hey, can I shadow you? You need to form that relationship first and then do the ask only when it feels right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's somebody's time. And somebody, another guest on my podcast had said that don't just reach out for what can you do for me. It's like find what you can do for them and then pitch that.
Always.
So, yeah. There's the director's reel, there's bios, there's headshots and all that stuff. What do you think is important for the director to get themselves in alignment to a project?
All of that. So in the working director, we basically do all that stuff in order. Like there's like, okay, first we're going to work on your bio. Here's a bio worksheet. Let's hone out, let's make sure that makes you look like a rock star. And the thing with bios, it's really important not to waste precious real estate. So do not put things like grew up in Southern Illinois. Who cares? Right away out the gate, give me something strong, wow me, to keep me reading. Give me some credits after that might mean something and make sense for you. And then end with something that's not, that might make me remember you, or there's a wow factor that maybe isn't related. It could not be related to directing, or it could be related to directing, but it's like something very special. So yeah, you need your bios. Then you're moving into your reels. And I have 8 reels plus a directing trailer. So I have all my directors do a directing trailer. People need to see you direct. Unfortunately, that's just the thing. So we do a trailer that's literally just BTS of you directing. We do reels we do a main sizzle reel. So that's the one that's got me the most work. Almost all my work has come from people watching my sizzle reel. It's not scenes, it's just beautiful shots that are moving and has celebrities and all that stuff. But then I have reels for each genre. I have a kids reel, I have a romantic dramedy reel, I have a musicals reel, I have a music video reel, so on and so forth. Right. So you need all of that. If you're just starting out and you don't have that, when I work with my directors, it's like, well, let's make a really good, tight 1 to 2 minute reel. So you go and you find scenes that are really, really stellar acting. Don't put weak acting in there. And you find scenes with movement. So if you have something where you've moved, you followed somebody, they sat at the table, then they deliver some line, like really great scene work for your one reel. That's all you can do. What else? I believe directors they need headshots. Do they need like actor shots? No, but you need something that's on IMDb Pro, on your website, on your business card if you're handing those out. Like you need on your Facebook page. And then again, on your Facebook page, I teach them how to make sure their headers are selling them and their photos are selling them and their feed is selling them. Like there's no one thing that's going to get you directing work. It's all of the things.
Right. No, those are some really good points. So can you tell us some of the differences between directing TV and feature films?
For sure. So feature films, the director is more of the boss. I mean, the studio features, you definitely are answering to higher level executives. And in indie features, 4 of my 6 I was hired for. And really, in those cases, the person hiring was, we'll say for better or worse, the final decision. They really had a vision for what they wanted. They hire a director to sort of put it together, but you're trying to give them their vision while also making a great product. If you're doing your own movies, it's the best because then you're the final say no matter what, final cut. I love it, right or wrong. It's all right. Me. So that's the biggest difference. In features, really the director kind of makes all the decisions. In TV, you're a guest in someone else's house. So you come in, You have a crew that's established. They know more than you do. So you need to listen to their expertise. You need to watch the show, know how the show works. It doesn't matter if you want to do a certain kind of shot. The show doesn't do those kind of shots. You don't do that on their show. Know the show producers, the showrunners, know the writers, know your DPs, sit down and take them to lunch, learn the show, get to know them, know all of your crew. You're literally a guest in someone's house. I mean, imagine going to like, Christmas dinner at someone else's house and you walk in like, no, we're going to change what you're making. And we're going to I don't like your Christmas tree decorations. Let's change that up. That's not how it works. You come in and you're a pleasant person to be around and you do your job and you make sure everything runs smooth and you get out. Whereas feature, and also TV directing, you spend maybe 3 weeks usually with somebody. With features, you're on that film for years. You could literally hate the movie and it does not matter. You are with that film from inception until through distribution. So it's a much bigger commitment.
Now, as you work your way up the ranks of directing, when does somebody need an agent or a lawyer?
I get asked this a lot. I'm always like, how can I get an agent? It's like, well, if you don't know how to get an agent, you're probably not ready for one.
Yeah.
I actually have a whole podcast episode on getting an agent. And we did a live with Sarah Alexander. So I would recommend anybody listening, go watch that. That interview with Sarah Alexander from Alexander Creatives is fantastic. She really breaks down, what credentials you need to even be looked at. What kind of stuff should you have in the pipeline? Should you already know showrunners? Yes, you should. There should be a lot in your body of work to be ready to get an agent. I always say you get an agent when you absolutely need one. And basically at that point, the agents are probably seeking you out.
Right.
You've directed your first network episode and now you need to get more or whatever. I would recommend getting a manager first, someone who cares about your career, somebody who can open doors for you, not somebody who's just submitting you for stuff. Somebody who's literally I care about you. What do you want to do? How do we make that happen? Let me set up meetings for you, whether it's generals, whether it's to get your film financed. Your manager is more involved. And then you could just have a lawyer look at all your contracts. That's what I do. I just have a lawyer look at everything. You pay them a percentage of it and it's the same as an agent, but it's just a one-time thing. It's not every single job. On that note, if you're non-union, it's the same thing with DGA. Don't go forcing yourself to be DGA because you think that's what you need to do. You should only go union when you're absolutely a must join and have to go union because you're going to hurt yourself doing all this non-union work to build out your reel and your career. And don't listen to the TV, you have to be union to get your TV episode. No, you don't, because everybody who got their TV episode was not union before they got it. Right. So I really believe that you're ready whenever it kind of just happens. And I know everybody hates that because they think that an agent will help them, but I've had an agent in the past and it was not a pleasant experience. And they wanted all the money and I was creating all my own work. So unless you're getting those big jobs that have a big price tag and you need somebody to open more doors because of that, I don't know. I'm not somebody who pursues agents, I guess. And I'm not, most people don't like hearing that answer.
No, I think that's good because I think you hit the head on the nail there. The more that you're out there, it will come to you and you'll know it's ready than you trying to pay all this, money doing all these things that you're not even getting any work for. So,
yep.
So, we were talking we're in a world that creates a lot of busy. Do you think being busy is a good thing for directors?
It's one of my biggest things that I preach is being busy does not mean being successful. I knew I was successful. I mean, obviously there's still goals I haven't reached. I'm still trying to get my studio stuff, but I knew I was successful when I could say no to jobs that had celebrities, that had big pay because I didn't want to do them. I knew I was successful when I could take a month off, 2 months off to do whatever I wanted and not have to direct if I didn't want to. That is success. Being busy for the sake of being busy is not success. And I like people, what I try to teach my directors in the program is don't be doing the busy work. What are the 3 things that can change your career today? do those 3 things. Because too often we're like in the little minutia of all the little things and it doesn't even matter. What are those 3 things every day you can do that can change your career? Or at least one thing every day that can change your career. If it's emailing a showrunner that you met, if it's editing your reel, fixing your website, do the big picture things. Creating an email list, which I'm so on directors for. It's mind-boggling that directors not create email lists. And it's not about sending out newsletters. It's about all those followers you think you have on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, and that platform goes away. You have nothing. You need all those followers to be in your email because you own that email list. And then when you are out there going, I'm selling my DVD, or I'm crowdfunding, or my movie's in theaters, whatever it is, you have people that you can email. Anybody you've worked with, any clients you've worked with, you put that in the email list under a client group so you can reach out when you need to. Like, there's just different levels to this that I teach. But the point is, like, that is the important work. Not like, I don't know. I probably have I have an app called AnyDo. I don't know what everybody else uses, but I love any.do because it's just sort of a brain dump. So every time I think of anything, if it's like, I don't know, take out the trash. I need to go to the doctor. I need to make a doctor's appointment. I need to write a script. It doesn't matter how big or small. It all gets dumped in there. And then it can be filed under projects and you can hit reminders or whatever. The reason I do that is because every day I can then look and go, what are the things that need to be done today? What can change today? And sometimes calling the doctor is an important part of that. But usually it's like, I don't know. We do these things that are easy, right? Like, I'm sure you could think of things like, it's like, I organized my desk today. Check. Yeah, sure. It feels good, but did it change anything? Right. So that's why I say, like, being busy isn't good. Being productive. That's the word we should be using. Being productive is good.
I like that. Yeah. I do a lot of busy work and I'm always like, I got nothing done on my
Yes.
I'm distracted. Yeah. So it is hard. It is hard to focus. It's hard to focus your energy. And there was in a book, eat the frog first, do the things that are the hardest, do them first to get them out of the way.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I think sometimes it's hard to focus on, well, what is the thing I need to do? But I think that if you just quiet your mind, you know exactly what you need to do. And it's usually action. It's not writing all these lists like I love to do. So you created this Facebook community, The Working Director. You have some great events on directing. Can you tell us how you get connected and what should they do to utilize the group? So let's talk about the group and how they can join the group. Totally.
It's super easy to find. If you just go to allfilmmakerswelcome.com, it'll take you right to the Facebook group. Obviously, it's the Working Director Facebook group, so if you can search that. But allfilmmakers.com, and then once you're there, answer the questions. Not everybody answers the questions. The reason I have you answer the questions is because it populates you into our cast crew list, so you can get casting notices, and it also helps us know who's in the group and how we can help you later. And then once you're in the group, I mean, we were trying to do lives every week. It could be a lot, whatever you have a lot of stuff going on, but we try to do a live every week if we can. And it's usually on a topic it's always on a topic that should help a director somehow. Like we had the directing agents, we have prepping, just recently we had how do you prep as a director? Another good one we had is how to book your first feature film and your second and your third and your fourth and your fifth. So we try to do that kind of stuff in the group so that I think there's a lot of groups out there that are good for maybe job postings or support. There's things like that. We try to do it all in this group. So only stuff in there. There's nothing allowed in there that's not a supportive, helpful thing for a director. Whether it's an event we found out about that's free for you, whether it's job postings, anything like that is in there. There's never self-promotion or anything like that. So I mean, the whole goal is just to create a place for filmmakers of all kinds, of all levels, to learn from each other and share with each other and, get better at our craft and the business, because that's just as important as our craft.
Yeah, absolutely. And now the live events, they are recorded, so then people can watch it afterwards.
Yes, they're definitely, they stay under the guides. Under the guides, we have all kinds of things. Like how do you book work? How do you get, like all the different guides, you'll find things as we build it out. It's still pretty new, still a new group. So it's not, like we're just building it out. And then we cut all the lives into really tight 20 to 30 minute podcast episodes. So that also goes in the Working Director podcast for people who are on the go and don't want to sit and watch something. And it's like the tighter version. So it's kind of better anyway. Because, lives as we're talking now, you'll probably cut this down, but like, we could just ramble on if we want to about some topic that we're excited about. And then later you're like, yeah, we went on a little too long about that.
Yeah. I usually cut me out like, Tammy, why did you have to talk about that? It has nothing to do with anything. But I was just wondering, so do you want to tell us about your program, The Working Director, and the coaching that you do?
Sure. Great. Yeah. I'm loving this. Like, I got to tell you, we have weekly coaching calls and it's become a highlight of my week. Like, I love getting on with the women and like hearing where they're at, hearing where they're struggling, working through problems that they're having. It's so great too. They come with like, okay, I've got a meeting with so-and-so. How do I approach it? Or I have this contract. What should I give them? And the program itself has everything. Like, we even have all the sample contracts you would need as a director. We basically teach you how to be a producing director. So we teach you how to go out and get clients and how to promote yourself the same way I've done it my entire career. I get new business, but really I've been on referrals for so long. I haven't had to do this in a while, because you get to the point where all going well, you're being referred to everybody. So you don't have to keep looking for new business, but we teach all of that so that when you basically come in and you get all of your marketing materials in order, and then you learn all the different ways you could be a working director without waiting on somebody. Studio programs, studio work, all that, you're waiting on somebody else. Narratives and features, you're often waiting for somebody else, even though I do kind of touch on how you can create your own. But we really focus on like, how can you become a paid working director and do this again and again and again, so this is your only job. All of your income is solely from directing, which is what I've done for so long. And I think the directors who really want to direct, they don't care what they're directing. I know that's how I used to be. Like, I still kind of am in some ways, but like, it's like, I didn't care if it was an industrial where I was like at a dentist office doing something. Like, I always found the joy in getting to be out directing. And the best part of being a producing director and bringing in people is you also get to hire all your friends. So you're hiring your DPs and your sound and even actors. Like, what a great feeling. It's so empowering to be able to be a working director like that. And that's what the program focuses on.
Here's a question that I have, and I want to have some tips for directors. When the shit hits the fan during a production, which it always does, and sometimes we get in our heads like, oh shit, like the imposter syndrome, I shouldn't be doing this, I can't do this. How can you, in the moment, any tips to turn that negative thinking around and get the project, just keep moving forward?
It's funny you even bring up imposter syndrome, because I always tell everybody that I've been doing this for a long time. I mean, I've been in the business over 2 decades. I've been directing over a decade. And I still, to this day, when I get hired, I'm like, they're going to find out I don't know what I'm doing. I don't, like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to pull this off? I go through all of that, every single project. And then when I'm on set, I'm like, okay, you do that, you go, blah, blah, blah. Like, it doesn't even, it's like it's gone out the window. All that stupid stuff.
Right.
I don't know if there is a way to get over it. I think we all deal with it. It's just a matter of reminding yourself that you know what you're doing. So it is definitely worse if you're in the I've never really had in the moment where crap is always hitting the fan on set. Yeah. And I think I thrive in that in some ways. So I really feel like what you just need to do is always trust your gut, trust your instincts. So the best thing you can do when you're on set and things are just going nuts is go, okay, everybody, just give me a second. It is okay to take a minute to think. And I think that sometimes we don't do that when people are on us and they're like, answer. It's like, yeah, okay. Let's all breathe. What is happening? What are some solutions? And I always tell people, like, don't come to me with problems, come to me with solutions.
Yeah.
I have a couple of friends that when we did the Wake Up TV show, it was hilarious because there was constant fires. When you're doing a live, like, it's a 3-camera talk show, there was always something wrong. A guest wasn't making it, something. So the joke was they'd always come to me and sing to me. They'd sing the bad news to me. And so I would just laugh. And when you're laughing at the bad news, you can't get stressed at the bad news. So I think that's the way. It's if you can always find the humor and take the breath, there's always a solution. I mean, I've had the worst thing. We've had a whole cast and crew of over 50 people locked out of a location that we had to reschedule once we were all on set. Like we've had the gear truck break down and not show up to set for like 2 or 3 hours. It was late, and we had a whole bunch of action scenes to film that day. So it was like, there's always something, but you always figure it out. And I think that's what we have to remind ourselves. Like, we'll figure it out. There's a solution, No one has died. God forbid, knock on wood. That's not the problem that's coming to you, because that's a whole different thing.
That's different.
Yeah. It's like reminding ourselves we're not curing cancer. We're doing something fun. We're creating art. We're making magic, and reminding ourselves of that constantly, no matter how crazy it is. Nothing is that bad.
Yeah, I like that, and taking that moment, because in that moment, sometimes because the freneticness of everything going on, you just need to take a beat and just get back into yourself, because you always know your answers, I think.
You do.
When you quiet the mind.
That's actually, on that point, I think that's all of life. Well, I've taught my directors about oracle cards, just because I think that sometimes when we're like, what should I do? What should I do? What was the decision? I'm like, quiet your mind. And oracle cards are fun because you can find something that you like the pictures of or whatever it is, and you just quiet your mind. What is the question I'm asking? And you pull a card. And it's not about what the card you pulled is. It's what you intuitively already know the answer. So when you see that, you go, you're right. That is my answer. Because you already know in your gut. And it's just another way to quiet your mind and find something sort of outside of yourself to help you with decisions. We need to do that all the time. If you're struggling between, should I do this project or that project? Quiet your mind, quiet everything. What feels good? Also on that note, what's on your line of trajectory? That's something else I teach. If you're trying to go, if my point, I'm at point A now, and if I'm going to try point B is doing a big, giant, epic studio musical, and one project is a low-paid web series that's a musical, and one is a high-paid feature that's a horror movie, that's way off my line. So I'm better to take the low-paid musical because it's taken me to that dot. So I just think it's about where are we going, remembering where you're heading, and just exactly being quiet with yourself, for sure.
Yeah. Is there any do's and don'ts as a director that you should think about?
I'm sure there's like a million.
Yeah.
I think one of the most important things as a director that people kind of, I don't know, they just kind of put to the side is being having a visual eye and being able to talk to directors. So directors sometimes go and go, I'm an actor's director. It's like, great, but can you also tell a story through the camera? Because putting two actors at a table and shooting over the shoulders, that's boring. That's not being a director. Great, you got great performances from them. Awesome. Can you move the camera? And other directors who are like, I can move the camera and make all these visuals. Yeah, but your acting performances are terrible because you didn't know how to pull that emotion out. So I think it's so important to really know your craft. And that could mean studying other films. It could mean, studying your craft. What it really means is you continuing to push yourself as a director. Like, don't rest on I would say continue to master your craft, whatever it is, right? Like, even if you think, God, I really loved how that turned out. Great. How can you do it even better next time? So that is the biggest do, is continue to push yourself and learn. It's like, okay, I really love that shot I saw in that movie. How can I pull that shot off? But also don't use that shot just for the fact of pulling that shot off. Make sure that shot's telling the story. I think there's so many do's and don'ts as a director. It's like it's a never ending like list of answers.
Yeah, I was thinking about something else. When you were saying that you get constructive criticism, right? When you're doing your films. Now, is it important to get constructive criticism on set as well, like from your crew, to see how you were as a director, or does that not matter?
Hell no. So
it's just about the film.
So here's the thing. Yes, be a collaborative person. If you know, especially with your cinematographer and your gaffer, as you're figuring things out, like, oh, I would really love this. What do you guys think? Like, how can we make this work? Collaborative, yes. But there's so much going on set as a director that you cannot listen to everybody's little ideas. And it will happen where, like, suddenly the PA or the producer or somebody's just like, you should do this or you should do that. It's like, I get that and I hear that, but I'm in my head thinking of more than this one shot. I'm thinking of, how does this play into the next shot? And how does this play into the shot that's 3 scenes from now that this is affecting? And how can I cut all this together that I've already done? So giving feedback and ideas is actually not helpful unless the director goes, hey, everybody around, I'm stuck. Does anybody have a good idea? Which I've done that before. Like it's the 11th hour, something isn't working. Anybody have an idea? Let's do this. Let's figure this out. Otherwise, it's really, you've got to let the director think and do their thing and make their calls. And as a director, you cannot be scared to make the call. There are no right or wrong answers. Would something maybe even more interesting than something else? Maybe, but you have to make the call. You can't take up too much time being indecisive. You have to just be like, I'm making the call, right or wrong. This is it. I'm doing this. And I was one time on our set for the breakout, I did this really long take, this really long shot where I let the singer keep walking and singing and walk into frame, and then they came into focus. And somebody was like, "Oh, you better get the close up in case." I'm like, "Nope, I'm using this shot." And I made that decision because I didn't want anybody later to say I should use the close up. So I just, criticism and feedback during the time, that's I'm going to say no to that one.
especially on a feature when I think there's more intensity than maybe a short film. And there's just too many things going on. And I think it can derail you sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Much. And it can make you second guess yourself even as a director, and that's not what you want to be doing on set. And producers out there who are listening, please you've hired your director for a reason. You have to trust them. You cannot be standing over their shoulder. You cannot be wondering what's going on. Like, sure, if you want to be in a loop, great. But I've had so many producers who are like, either they've been yelly, so it creates a yelly set, which creates me being yelly. Like, it's like, because I have pressure on me now. I've had producers who are like, questioning everything. And you just can't. You have to trust that you've hired me for a reason, and I'm going to do that job. And directors if you have these people, like I had a DP who he wanted to direct. You could tell. He was just, the whole way was fighting the whole thing. And I just had to take him outside and be like, listen, like, I appreciate your feedback, but like, we don't have a lot of time. So let's work this out. What do you need from me that's going to make you happy to be here? And then what do you need from me so that I can direct? And just having an open conversation about it, because those sets, man, sets are tough when you have people who either you haven't crewed yourself, the producers have hired before you, which happens a lot more than you think, or producers who hired you, but they don't necessarily know how to trust a director yet. Those sets are really tough.
So that brings a good point. As a female director, I think more so than a male director would have this happen to you. How do you rein in the set when you feel like either people are talking over you, not listening, and maybe this doesn't happen to you because you have such a strong personality, but to people that might be a little bit more meek. Like I was on a shoot where the director, I didn't realize she was the director until she told me she was, and that was at the third location. So I didn't realize that she was, because I didn't feel like she commanded the set. So how should, just any tips for females to just like rise up and have a voice?
Wow.
And, I think that's tough.
So I would say first and foremost, the AD should have a meeting, pull all the crew and cast together. The cast already know who the director is, but definitely the crew, and just introduce the director, let the director say a few words. Because one, that's really sad that you didn't even know who the director was. And then as far as it's weird because I am definitely a strong personality and I am very loud if I need to be. I'm very loud in general, as my family will tell you. We're sitting in a booth. So it is definitely different for me, but I've had plenty of sets, especially with male DPs who don't, they want to move at their own pace. They want to do what they want to do. Like literally had a male DP once when I was like, okay, I want to put this on a dolly and have the shot move, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Literally. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm just a director. Like it's infuriating. Wow. I just think hopefully you have producers who have your back. One thing I have learned in the long run is that I need to learn in the beginning if producers have my back, and if they don't, I can't take those projects. Because films where producers have had my back have been the most fun and joyous time ever. And they make such a great set for everybody. Like everybody gets along, everybody's having a good time, because the producers just have an air of like, we trust you all to do your jobs. We're here if you need us. So you've got to have a good producer. Beyond that, and just being, that's such a hard question. I always worry about network TV when I get to network TV because I am such a big personality. It's like, make friends with my crew. I mean, that's the first, it's like, make sure everybody knows who you are, make sure everybody's, has that same vision. I think it gets the most tricky. I know I'm talking all around circles because this is a tough one. It gets really tricky when you haven't gotten to hire your own team. So if you're hiring your DP, for instance, you can have those conversations and hopefully you guys can get along and you have respect for each other on set. If you have a DP, as in my case, a couple of times a director has been let go and I've come on to a project like a week before they were shooting. And one time it was a feature film and the DP's friend was who was fired. Oh. So that was really tricky to navigate. And it was a battle the whole time, but I just kept positive. I kept moving forward and I got to hire my AD. So I had that teammate to like make sure things were moving. And you want to keep a positive front because your cast doesn't need to know any of the crap that's going on behind the scenes. So it's just, and I don't like, in that instance, I didn't have producers who really kind of stepped up, I think, to help that set run. I'm always going back to producers. Having good producers I think that the producer is one of the most unsung heroes of our business. Nobody understands their job or what they do, why they're there. They don't understand that the producer has done all this work to get all of you on set, and then they're going to stay with the film all the way through distribution and beyond. Like the producer is it's a thankless job. So if you're lucky enough to find people you love working with as producers, oh my gosh, take them, hold on to them tightly and never let them go.
Well, and I think you bring a good point. Like, I say be friends with, I don't even know if that's the correct term, but just like connect with that. If one of those have your back, hopefully it's the DP in particular, because the DP is the one you're going to work the most with to get your vision across. Yeah. It is challenging. And I was always wondering, like, when you see things on set that you're just like, oh, this is not good. And then how do you step in to correct that? Or is it your place? That it's always that fine line.
I've helped out friends before as a producer, and then I'll be on set for whatever reason helping, and I'll be watching performances just, it's burning, it's hurting because the director isn't doing something about it, or the director is the actor and their AD is supposed to be directing. And I'm just like, it doesn't matter. Bite your tongue till it bleeds. It's not your place. Unless they've said, please speak up, it's not your place. And that's why it's really hard to be on other people's sets too, when you run really efficient sets, because you can see all the problems, but it doesn't matter unless you're the producer. And even if you're the producer, you still don't you do not say anything about directing. You just let it go. It's not your place. You can help fix all those other fires. It's really hard if you're, say, like my daughter, she's been on sets with me since she was, 2 years old. At 15, she could put a Blackmagic camera together and be my second cam. So she's 19 now, and she can't be on other people's sets. She has a hard time because she's just like, this is painful to watch.
Yeah. Is she in the film industry?
She's actually an artist, and she loves to draw, and she's doing graphic design mostly for me now because she can do it from home. But she's also a musician, so she has, every once in a while she'll do a new song or a cover, and we'll film that. But so mostly, unless it's my set, she helps on all my sets. She does something on every set I do, but if it's not my set, she just says no. She can't. She's just like, no, it's not worth it.
Right. Well, there's something to a nice cohesive set and working with the same. That's what I love about filmmaking, is when you get to go on a set and you're like, oh my God, I know half the crew or something. And it's like, oh, good, this is going to be fun. It's almost like, it feels like, I say high school, like, oh my God, all my friends are here, But
yeah, and just hope it doesn't become like high school, like, oh my God, did you hear what she said?
Right. The fun times of high school, not the negative stuff.
No, I agree. It's like a family reunion whenever you get to go to set, and it's like certain people you haven't worked with in a couple of years are there. And I used to have my good friend, Dave Hoffman, what a trooper. I love this man. He was on my first feature ever, volunteered as a grip. And who volunteers to grip? Because that's a hard job.
Yeah.
And then he would just do all my films to the point where, like, if you look at my films up until a certain point, because now he's a union grip and I can't afford to bring him on set. There's a cameo in every single film I've ever done where he would show up. But, like, every time we get to work together, it's like, it's family time, you know, like I have actors who I just adore that if I can get them in on anything I do, I find them some kind of role because you want your family around you. You want your film family there. And, on that film set that was really hard, because I got to hire my AD, which helped. And I got to bring in a couple of the side characters who hadn't been cast yet. Like you said, no, make friends with everybody. There's no reason that you shouldn't be literal friends with everybody. Your DP, your gaffer, your grip, your PAs, your cast, there's just no reason. Like we all are in this together. We all want to make the best film. We all want to continue to have thriving careers and hire each other. Like, why is there ever any negativity or competition? I will not understand that. Even other directors, I give other directors jobs all the time. I always say I'm too, I don't know what the right word is. I'm just too lazy to go do some jobs I used to do when I was younger. I'm like, or I'm more expensive now. I'm like, yeah, you ain't getting me out of the house for less than a certain amount anymore. So I love giving jobs to newer directors for that. And then I've had feature films come in or music videos or things where it's like, I've had a feature film come in once. It was an action movie. And I was like, now I might do it depending on my mood, but I was like, I don't want to do an action movie. I just want to do my romantic dramedies and my musicals. And I recommended other directors who did action for that film. So it's like, why not be friends with everybody? There's enough work for all of us.
Right. And you never know when the PA becomes a director, you know? Like,
oh, for sure. Right.
And then is hiring or, you know, becomes a producer and is hiring
exactly.
You.
Yep.
So
I've even had sound people and script supervisors and people like that have referred me to jobs and have gotten me on as a director because they were, you know, on a job already or something. So I don't say you should be friends with people to get hired, but that is a good point though. Like you don't know where people are going. So don't be like, oh, you're just a lowly PA. Right. But you should treat everybody with respect anyway, including the people who are bagging your groceries and delivering your mail and, you know, your doctors. It doesn't matter. Like, why are we not? Everybody should be just treated with respect and love and kindness. And what a better world we would live in.
No, so true. So true. Yes. So do you want to share anything about any projects you're on right now?
Oh man, it's funny because before the pandemic, I couldn't breathe. I had so many things going on. I would literally I would be on a project and try to schedule like 2 days in the middle of that project for this other project. It was so much going on. I had 2 feature films I was attached to. They were going to be my highest paid checks yet. And I love the scripts. One of them I called My Twilight. I want to do a Twilight kind of movie so bad. And the producers are just lovely. Like I cannot wait to work with them. But the pandemic hit, lost the funding immediately because the people lost money in the stock market, lost all of our jobs, obviously shut down unless you were like in really big studio things. Did a couple little projects here and there during the pandemic that could be like a 3-4 person team, but like it's been dead. So I'm starting to feel there's a momentum happening now though. And I say this to all directors who are sitting there going, why am I not getting work? It's coming back. I can feel it. Like the studios are definitely in full swing, and I feel like all those jobs are starting to happen again, and people are starting to get funding for movies again. So currently, I'm working on helping a few people develop their films. Like I have a really good friend who helped me produce my last feature, so now I'm helping her develop her short film that she'll star in. I'm writing my own kids space adventure movie because I just want to do that so bad. And I want to work on the big LED stages and all that. So it's just a lot of little fun things that I'm trying to put together for myself while I can, because once all the projects start coming back and, there's big productions and features and all that, you can't do all the fun little things that you do for yourself. So, and that's, you guys, for those of you who are listening who are in a funk, there is nothing like getting out of your funk by doing something for yourself. Like I'm going to go out and film a music video by myself. I'm going to, use your iPhone and get a friend who sings and go, let's just do a cover song for you. Like there's nothing like getting out of your funk, like creating work for yourself.
Right. And as you create your community of filmmakers, then you just grab all your friends to do these little projects with you that don't have to be so high caliber. And even the GoPro, I mean, beautiful shots on that GoPro.
We have shot, because of the cell phone gimbals are so cheap, we've shot so much on cell phones with a gimbal and it looks so nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And how is your project, the feature Playing with Beethoven? I see that it's on a DVD. Do you want to share anything about that?
So Beethoven, so Playing with Beethoven is a film that we shot. It should have been over a $2 million budget. We shot it on like $35,000. I know I predict when I say that out loud, but I want people to know, like, if you really want it, there is no excuses. Like, we were like, let's just do this movie on what we have. You can make it work. We actually, and the saddest thing is, I was at Dances at Films every year for like 7 years with a short project. And we finally had a big project, a feature film that makes Dances with Films. And we were so excited. That was in 2020. And we got to not have our feature film debut at our red carpet. It was all online. But it did get a small limited theatrical release, which was fun to go see it in a couple different cities. And now it's available on demand and on DVD. It's having its own little life. We're kind of doing a little holiday push, like, hey, it's a family it's not really holiday related, but it's like a family film. Watch it with your family. It's got Shannon Elizabeth and Kadeem Hardison, and I just love their performances in it. It's got 2 young actors as the leads who have these, Naomi is one of our leads, had never been in a movie before, but she just has something magnetic about her. So we cast her. And with that film, we had to cast pianist first, actor second, because everything is recorded live. All the music is played live on set. There's nothing in post. So she was so outstanding as a piano player. We were like, oh, thank goodness she can act, because she was such a good player. And then Eric, who is our other lead, he's just so talented and adorable and charming. So I don't know. It's a fun little film. If you're looking for just a little happiness with some music, you should go watch it.
So do you want to just tell us a little bit what it's about? And did you write it?
So Catherine Shefsky wrote it. She lives in Philadelphia. She found me on Twitter like probably 8 years ago now. I loved her film. It was originally set in Philadelphia. We obviously couldn't afford to go there, so we did it in LA. But I did do a lot of rewrites with her. We worked on it a lot. We developed it a lot. We did, table readings and stuff to develop it for a very long time. So I kind of helped her write it, but really she's the writer. And then, so it's basically about these 2, it's really about one kid. He's a stellar pianist. He's on the biggest competition of his life is coming up as he's going to be ending his stint at music school. And then in walks charming girl who wants to distract him for possibly not good reasons. And they have an all-night adventure, all day and night adventure, and it's all music, just fun, different kinds of music, jazz, classical. We have a kid rock band in it. It's just a lot of fun. And then, you find out things that maybe you don't want to find out at the end. It's funny, you're asking me this, and I'm like, I haven't had to pitch this movie in so long that I'm doing a terrible job right now. You ask about director do's and don'ts. Directors, practice your pitches. Always be fresh, because you never know when you're going to be asked for it.
Right, yeah. Well, I'm just testing you. No, I mean, it is tough. And then to have your pitch, like, any words of advice about the pitch? Like, how do you come up with, and let's just Playing with Beethoven, how would you come up with, do you work with the writer on that, or do you have to come up with that?
Well, I mean, usually the writer does the log line and the synopsis for you, and then maybe we tweak from there. I think we had a lot of different variations of the log line until we came up with our little cute tagline of something like, and Josh finds out that life, like music, is about taking risks. I also recommend, my directors, I work on them having their own personal log line, or their own personal pitch, because I always say, what if you get in an elevator with whoever, Ron Howard, Brian Grazer, somebody's in the elevator, like, oh, well, what do you do? Oh crap, I forgot what I do. So we regularly practice who we are pitches, like I'm Jenn Page. I've directed 6 feature films, and we have our whole little 30-second pitch. And every time the directors come on coaching, I try to get them to continue to do that and practice it, because I've done it for 3 years and I didn't do it for like 6 months. And then I was on a big call for my Producers Guild orientation. No big deal. Introduce yourself. And they're introducing, and they're like these, all of a sudden it's like executives at Hulu, and like these huge producers are all introducing themselves, all their credits. And my brain went, I forgot what I do. It's terrible. So practicing your own producer director pitch, practicing your pitches for your films. Absolutely. Practicing your pitches for your projects that you're working on. These are things I'm not always doing. I'm not very great at because I'm always teaching this stuff. And then I go, crap, I'm not doing it. So practice it all. Get great with it.
Well, I like that. It's like really getting to know yourself, like pitch yourself. And you can do that with anything, really. It's just, who are you in a 30-second pitch?
Yep. What makes you special? Yep.
Yeah, I like that. Well, Jenn, thank you so much for being on the show. This was such a cool and very interesting topic.
I hope so. I feel like I rambled a lot. But I love talking to you. You're a great host. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. I encourage you to get out there and make a film. Reach out to your local filmmakers group to get involved and connect. Please subscribe to the show if you like it, and follow me on Instagram @TannyMagero. Until we meet again, what's your story?